So, folks, we're live tonight with special guests, a fellow Dublin man like myself. Do I call you Anthony? Do I call you Anto? Do I call you Stokesy? What do I call you?
Anthony's fine, whatever you want. Stokesy was in Glasgow, but I'm used to anything.
Good stuff, good stuff. I appreciate you coming on.
No
We'll have
problem at
about
all.
a 40-minute chat just about your career and
Yeah.
what you've been up to, and regards to Celtic going forward this season as well.
Yeah.
So, you started off at Arsenal, did you?
Yeah, I started with Arsenal. Originally I was with Shelbourne actually that was my youth team. I went to Shells for probably only my last year. Started at Cherry Orchard and went right up to under 13s, 14s with them. But
Cherry
originally,
Orchard, were you playing with Johnny Hayes back in the day?
Johnny Hay, he was a year above me, but I played with Johnny quite a bit, and then with the underage setups with Ireland quite a bit. Johnny was a great player, done very, very well for himself. But Cherry Orchard at that stage had really listen, our team was top class. I think we went to one of the longest streaks in Irish schoolboy football. We went unbeaten for I think it was nearly 4 years, which I'd imagine is unheard of these days. But that's I'm going the long way around the shortcut about saying I was originally going to go to United because we all left, 5 or 6 of us left and joined Shells for the last season before we moved to England because they had that sort of coalition thing with United and
like with West Brom and Kevin's, is it?
Yeah, similar at the time. But I think it was the first time I didn't know any other schoolboy team at the time that had sort of any affiliation with an English soccer club. So originally I was going to go to United, but Leigh Brady happened to be in charge of the DDSL team. So he was in my last year before I was sort of broke into the under 15s with the Irish team. And it was Leigh Brady that was really a big influence on me. And that was the reason I ended up at Arsenal. So
We are Arsenal alone.
I was there until I was 17, so I went over quite early. My parents moved over with me, which I don't think was really the standard procedure, but they moved over, which allowed me to move over a bit quicker. So I was able to move over just I think a couple of weeks before my 15th birthday. But by the time I was 17, 18, I was out on loan at Falkirk. I'd done well. I'd done reasonably well in the first couple of years. Went straight into the under 16, 17s, and I think I was in the Resis by the time I was. I think I made my first appearance in the Resis at maybe 16. But that was
you played in the Carabao Cup, didn't you, for Wenger, didn't you?
Carling Cup. Yeah, I had one appearance for the first team, which was it was a brief appearance. Come on for about 5 minutes against Sunderland. But listen, as a young teenage boy to make a debut at any level, especially coming on for Arsenal. It was a big achievement, but it was very quickly after that I went out on loan then.
That's it, Dave O'Leary, and then obviously Leigh Brady, and then yourself there, the Dublin connection with the Gunners.
Yeah, but even before I arrived, Stephen Bradley was there, and I only briefly saw him. Graham Barrett was there. Barrett unfortunately got a couple of injuries, and then the two boys that I really had a good connection with were Patrick Craig and Stephen O'Donnell. And funnily enough, they went on to when they left Arsenal, they went to Falkirk, and that's where I ended up going on loan, and it ended up being a very successful move for me. So
someone said to me the other day, I was chatting away to one of my mates about this, and you were like, "Did Stokesy play with Kasper Schmeichel at Falkirk? Was it that season?"
No, he wasn't there. I can't remember who was the goal. Big ginger-haired boy, Australian boy. He's a great lad. Can't think of his name. It's just not on the tip of my tongue at the minute. But they had a great squad there. We had Alan Gale. There was myself. Latapi. Do you remember Latapi at all in midfield?
Yeah, I do indeed. Yeah.
Oh, an absolute baller. Listen. He was half the reason I done so well there. I just make runs. There was Patrick Craig alongside him with Stephen O'Donnell. We sort of played like a little dime in the midfield. And O'Donnell was class as well, but Latapi in particular. Listen, I just make runs in behind that boy. The ball had almost had backspin on it. It just stopped in front of you. So we had
you scored 14 goals for them all together, didn't you? For your time on loan.
I think it was maybe 18 and 16 or something, including cup goals. But
and you were playing in the top league.
John used the manager there. He was a big influence on my career. I ended up going back later on in my career, going back and playing for him, but he was great for me. Like to just give me as a young lad, I was pretty inexperienced, and I was a bit of he always called me a lovable rogue, put it that way. But he never held me back. He never put any restraints on me, and I just felt like I could go out and play for him. And
So was it a last minute job you went up there, or was it like earlier enough in the pre-season?
It wasn't really last minute. I don't know. I think it was maybe, 17 maybe at the time, and Padgen O'Donnell had obviously spoke to Yogi, and I didn't really know him that well. And it was just an opportunity cropped up with me. And my honest opinion was, I remember having a discussion with my dad, and I just said to my dad, I was like, look, I said, it's in the SPL. I was like, I'd love to try and go there, do well, and go to Celtic. That's in my mind. I remember saying it to my dad. And when even probably halfway through that spell of the first, like that loan move with them, I was just thinking to myself, God, I just hope Celtic come in. That was my honest thoughts going up there. And for it to go as well as it did, now I didn't expect that. But I backed myself, and listen, I was a lively enough lad. I never really lacked confidence, but to score goals like that in your first sort of professional playing against men, yeah, it was a great experience, and it really set me up for the rest of my career.
Because I remember I was in 5th or 6th year at the time. I remember like getting the paper, and it was like you were mentioning the paper, banging goals in for fun for Falkirk. And I was like, when is he going to get the Irish call up? Is it too early for him? Were you playing 18 level, under 18 for Ireland at the time?
I was, down at Falkirk, I think. I don't know how it developed. I can't remember, but I'm nearly sure I made my debut for Ireland at 18, was I? It's a long time back. It was San Marino away anyway. I know that much. We went 1-0 down.
Was that Steve? What's his name? Yeah, Steve Staunton.
Yeah, Steve Staunton. He gave me my cap. I set up the winner. I scuffed the shot, and I think, who was it? Boy from Man City. Jeez, I can't think of his name now.
Stephen Ireland.
Stephen Ireland scored the winner.
Jesus.
I came on, and I was thinking, it was the last thing. That's the last place you want to go, not get a result on your debut, San Marino.
Henderson was in goal that day. Henderson, he was in goal. He was.
We came away with a magnificent 2-1 win away to San Marino. But listen, we went 1-0 down, so we took it.
Look, it is what it is. So was this early enough when you were playing for Falkirk? That goal there at Ibrox? That
was early enough. That actually got goal of the season, I think. That was against Rangers. Yeah, scored away.
It's a better angle of it, yeah.
Yeah, listen. I've good memories of that day. I had my half of my family were in the crowd, and I think there was only maybe about 1,000 or 500 Hibs fans in the corner. So when that went in, I went over and celebrated in the corner. I made sure I got close enough to see them, but they were all die-hard Liverpool and Celtic fans, so they were cheering more that it was against Rangers than for Hibs, I think.
Oh Jesus! So you went from Falkirk, you went back, you ended up getting sold to Sunderland, wasn't it, for £2 million?
Yeah, I went to Sunderland, but that was a peculiar one because I actually had the option to go to Celtic. Celtic came in quite late, and I think it was £1 million that Sunderland had agreed, and then it was up. Arsenal wanted more because there was a bit of competition. And to be honest with you, I was desperate to go to Celtic. Listen, I've been a Celtic since I was a kid, and that's the only real club I wanted to go to. And yeah, I'd sort of had my mind set on Sunderland, but when Celtic came in, I was straight up the road in, and I met Gordon Strachan. And to be honest with you, this is nothing against Strachan. Don't know the man from Adam. I was a young kid who went in. His attitude to me was, he said, you'll be fourth choice. And not that I had an arrogance or anything, but it was just, I almost felt a little bit belittled by the way he spoke to me. And I remember walking out and having a conversation with my dad, and I was like, I've scored more goals than his two strikers put together. I think it was Hesselink and
Scott McDonald.
Scott McDonald, that's it. And I'd scored more goals than the two of them in the league at this stage, and he's telling me I was going to be number 4 striker. Now, listen, maybe that was a bit of arrogance, but I just didn't feel like I was going to get the right opportunity at Celtic. And to be honest, in hindsight now, I regretted it so much when I went to Sunderland. But when I got the opportunity with Lenny, and Lenny was the manager for me to sign for Celtic for, and I wouldn't have changed anything. I'm just very lucky.
Just a quick chat about Sunderland. See, when you were at Sunderland, Roy Keane was the manager. Like, obviously, they got promoted. They were, the season before that, they were tipped for relegation. Then he came in and got them promoted.
People forget how well Keane done in that first season. Listen, he was going
to go back last season.
Yeah, but listen, he was a bit wild, but the one thing I liked about Keane was you always knew where you stood with him. Listen, if you excuse the language of it. If you were late for training, if you went out on the drink or something and you turned up for training, he didn't care. The most important thing in the world for him was being punctual, being on time, and just putting in the work. You know what I mean? Outside of football, he didn't really bother with things, and he didn't hold grudges. For an example, and I think it's been well documented, I was one of the lads that we missed the bus for an away game, which was sort of like coming towards the end of the season, an important game, and there was a massive, massive like backup on the motorway. I think 5 or 6 lads ended up missing the bus. Any other manager would be like, listen, the lads are going to be delayed. There's 6 of the squad, you know what I mean? Bang on the time, he's just let everybody go. I was doing 1:30 in the hard shoulder, and I was one of the first ones to get there, and I got there a couple of minutes late. The bus was literally coming out, and I'm ringing Leigh Miller on the bus, and I was like, surely he's going to pull in. I was like, I'm just a couple of minutes late. I said, there's still 4 or 5 of the lads that won't be there for 2 hours. And he just said to him, he just said to Miller on the phone, he said, "Tell him to fuck off home." And that was it. He said, I'll see him on Monday. So it was, he was his own character, but you knew where you stood with him. And see, come Monday, none of us got fined. He just said, look, the time was the time. I know there was an accident. And he said, we move on. He said, look, back in training. He said, there's no fine, there's nothing. He said, but everyone else managed to get there on time. He said, news didn't. He said, but regardless of what way you're coming on the motorway or what excuses you have, the time was the time with him. And that was a massive, massive thing.
So Noel Quinn was the chairman at the time, wasn't he? And then they were responsible for sports and all that, I remember. He had a few Irish players.
Massive influx of Irish. We had Graham Kavanagh, Daryl Miller, myself, God rest Liam Miller. He was a great lad, honestly, brilliant, brilliant lad. It's very sad what happened to him. But there was an absolute stock of us. Ian Hart came in. Who else was there? Connolly. Jeez, it goes on. Sleeves as well.
2002
just so many Irish, an Irish manager. Yeah, it was. But I tell you what, it was great days. You know what I mean? Especially in that first season when we did end up getting promoted. Like I tell you what, with some crack, I ended up building a bar in my house in Sunderland, and we had Darryl Murphy, myself, Cav, Ian Hart. Ian Hart lived with me for about 3 months when I built that bar. I never seen the end of him.
He's the most strangest accent I've ever heard. You know that?
Great lad. Honestly, Hart, he was a great boy. What a left foot he had as well. Listen, he'd gone a little bit, but it's this time he came to Sunderland, but he's still done.
Was he on Levante before that, wasn't he?
What's that? Yeah. He was over abroad, yeah. And Keane got him in there. But look, we all done a job, and to be honest with you, Keane deserves an awful lot of credit to get Sunderland even into that position. People forget, even the last day, we won on goal difference. I think we did on the last day of the season to actually win the league. We would have got automatic promotion, but we won 5-0, I think, away to Luton. And I got a couple that day, and I had a decent little run towards the end of the championship. And my pre-season.
Have you watched the Sunderland Till I Die documentaries?
I didn't even watch it, to be honest with you. No,
I give it a watch. I recommend this. I watched the last season when Paddy Roberts was talking about obviously not settling. He felt like he was at home at Celtic, and he went move upon move, and then eventually went to Sunderland. He started settling, started being on knowledge. But it's really good documentary over the last 5 6 years.
I have to be honest, and I'm not just saying this because I'm on a Celtic podcast, but I only watch Celtic. That's the only club I'm interested in. No, but it is, honestly. I watch Champions League games in Ireland if they play, and even sometimes in Ireland and turn that off. But yeah, Celtic's the only club I follow, and the only results I really check. If they do a documentary,
what about when Hibs are playing Hearts? Do you watch Hibs when Hibs are playing Hearts?
Yeah, I watch Hibs as well. I have a serious soft spot for Hibs, but Celtic's the only club I have a real interest in. You know what I mean? I've been a Celtic supporter before I played, and I still am now. So I enjoy going out for the games and getting a good ballad session in. And listen, that didn't go down too well when I played there, but I've done it before, and I'm still doing it afterwards.
Look, it's your DNA. You can't change the person who you are at the end of the day, as much as it's a profession. So you went to Hibs. You were at Hibs for a while. Did you play alongside Derek Royden? Did you?
Yeah. Deeks was there. Deeks, I tell you what a finisher that boy was. But he was probably a bigger headbanger than me, to be honest with you. So to have the two of us in the team, but we had a strong manager. See, having John Hughes there, Yogi, you needed someone like him. But he got the best out of the likes of like Deeks and myself. You know what I mean? But he was an example, and I have to be honest with you. One of the reasons why I didn't sign for Celtic the first time was because I seen when Reardon went there and very slim opportunities, under Strachan, and you know what I mean. He was one of the reasons that I didn't sign the first time around. But
And
in hindsight,
the
but
thing
like
is,
this,
he actually haunted Celtic, didn't he? The amount of goals he scored
yeah,
against Celtic before that.
tell you what, he was some finisher, but like that was him even in training. He'd do nothing at times because he was very slight, you know what I mean? And he didn't have that much pace, especially when I played with him at Hibs. But tell you what, you give it to him anywhere within 25 yards of the goal, and it was half. He was a bit like Leigh Griffiths. Had that mad the strike of the ball, they get mad movement on it, but deadly finisher.
Right. So let me talk about the move. How did it come to how did the whole Celtic move come along?
The whole Celtic move happened because I went to Sunderland, and then after Sunderland, I went back to Hibs. John Hughes had taken over at Hibs again, so I
Yeah.
thought, right, I've taken a bit of a backward step. Things hadn't worked out at Sunderland, and John Hughes came in with Hibs came in with an offer to Sunderland to basically pay my contract up and I'd get the money. And I thought, listen, I was with him at Falkirk. I knew him inside out. He knew me inside out, and he got the best out of me. And it was Hibs. Yeah, I didn't really know. Well, obviously, they were doing reasonably well, I think, but I just think it was just a whole setup and with John Hughes. I thought this is the perfect move. And again, and it's probably strange saying it, but I went and I thought, right, this is the time that if I go and do well, I'll get the move to Celtic. So I deliberately only signed a 1 year contract with them because I wanted to move, and I knew if I was going to go to Celtic that it'd be push and go how much they'd like spend on me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Good.
I really that's why I went back. I went back. I thought I'll get myself fit. I'll play under John Hughes in a better team than I was at Falkirk. I was like, I'll bang in goals, and I said, hope, and I was hoping that the opportunity for Celtic would come around again, and that's why I held on. And that was the main reason. The one sort of issue we had in the contract was that I'd only agreed to a 1 year contract because I did want it just to be a stepping stone.
Yeah, you were one of Neil Lennon's first signings, I remember, because Lennon took over from Mowbray the season before as a caretaker manager,
Yeah.
and then you got the full-time contract.
Yeah.
I remember quite well the 2010-11 season. We ended up having the tenants and then the Nike with the collar on it.
Yeah.
And you did you sign alongside Daryl Murphy around the same time?
Alongside Murph, do you know what actually happened? And I'll say it now because it's all done and dusted. I remember being absolutely buzzing with life. It was Murph that approached me and told me that Lenny was meeting him in the hotel out of Port Marnock, and he said to me, he goes, look, he wants to meet you, and look, he wants to sign you. And it was just happened like that out of the blue. Hadn't heard anything off agents. There hadn't been any other chat. I was just out. We were back with the Irish team playing, and I think Lenny, I don't know where he met Murph or whatever, but I had the conversation then. Listen, I wasn't going anywhere else then once I had the opportunity to go to Celtic, especially playing under him. Lenny was who I grew up watching in old firms, and that was, do you know what I mean?
First ever
He was
Celtic player I met was Neil Lennon. To be honest with
Yeah.
you, what a guy! What an absolute gentleman!
Brilliant lad, brilliant lad. But you know why he was so good for us, and that why I think we all bought into him so much was because he was fresh as a manager. So at the start, now after a year or two, like maybe even after a year, this sort of like mellowed out with him. But he'd come into the dressing room, or like he wouldn't stay up in his office. It's not like you just seen him out of training. He was in amongst the boys, you know what I mean? He
Kind
was
of like a
still
plot
fresh.
figure, sounds like.
Yeah, but he was still fresh from being a player, and he sort of distanced himself a little bit more after a year or two. But listen, I think everyone had like so much respect for him, and we'd have gone into the trenches for him, and I know I certainly would have. But we dug in for him, and it's probably hard for people to understand. Is you obviously give everything you can for a club, but we had a lot of local lads there, like myself, Charlie. We'd Celtic fans playing for the team, Daryl Murphy, Irish boys, looking up to Lenny, and the way Lenny was with us, like, listen, we could enjoy ourselves once we done the business, worked hard in training, turned up, and dug in for him, and you know what I mean. We're honest with him. We could enjoy ourselves as well, but it's good, like bunch of British and Irish lads there. It was a good base of players we had, and I honestly think Lenny was unbelievable manager, great player.
So that was Scott Brown's first proper season of being the captain as well. I remember because he took over from McManus because McManus went to Middlesbrough.
Yeah, Brownlee. I tell you what a leader he was as well, an underrated player as well. See, the thing with people is everyone talks about Brownie. He sets the tone. He does. He lifts you and he'll put that energy into a game when you need it. Graft, getting the ball back and all. But people underrate him a bit like Roy Keane. See how many times Scott Brown passes the ball forward, the pace he plays it at. It's always perfect. It's always the right side of you. It's small things that he does, but Brownie was definitely underrated in my opinion.
He always says that he's a quiet character off the pitch, but he's like a little warrior on the pitch. And then, is it true that he actually did shave his head to antagonise players, the opposition?
I don't know. Probably, yeah, because off the pitch he's not. He's a quiet lad, but you put him in for a 70-30 challenge, and Brownie will go straight into it, even if he sees a boot coming for a shin. He was just solid on the pitch, and listen, if it was a front or it wasn't, I don't care what it was. That wasn't his persona off the pitch, but he was definitely a leader and a battler on the pitch.
I just want to show you this picture. This is actually
and he knew the right. Oh no! I only see you sent me that recently, actually. Oh no! Surprised Lenny said.
Did you go?
He actually got sent. He got sent off that night. I was only 17. That was playing. We were away from home that night. I think we knocked him out of the cup. But I don't know what it was. I think I was probably being a bit cocky. I was on a good run of form, scoring goals, and I was never behind the door about bearing my opinion. But
look who's behind them, Bobo Balde.
Oh no, yeah. Well, I wouldn't want to be around that big Bobo here. I avoided him on the pitch. He was a man monster. An absolute unit.
I went to see Charlie McGrew live, right? And you were saying a story about Lennon where you were in the new camp. And then he comes in and he has the ball and he goes, "See this? This is the only time you're going to see the ball. You're not going to get all of the
ball." But no, see Lenny, he was brilliant though. Like we could have a laugh with him. Like there'd be times. I remember one time in Australia we came in and we were all like that to Brownie going like it's 2 a.m. or something. We were all like, "Come on!" Like Lenny said, we have to be back at 2. We were like, "Brownie, as soon as we get in, we'll all go up." Like because there was 5 or 6 of us. There was like myself, Commons, Hooper, McGrew, Brownie. There was like 4 or 5 like that. Like we got on well with the gaffer and we're like maybe the core of the players, especially for most of the games in the SPL. And Brownie's like that. We'll ask him for another hour, and he was like, "No." So we normally give you an extra hour. So as soon as we came back in, we were all fucking devastated. He goes, "Right, 1 point at the bar, Brownie, and then bed." And we were all like, "Mate, it's 2 a.m, mate."
It's never one discussion.
No, we went like that. As soon as we got in, he goes, "No, I'm only fucking joking." He said, "The boxing's on." He brought us out to a casino and had taxis and all booked for us and brought us out. They cancelled training the next day.
Oh. Were you there when he did the famous kangaroo story?
What's that?
Where him and McGrew were golfing and the team were out golfing and Courtney he had a scuffle with a kangaroo in the middle of a golf course.
Oh, I must have missed that bit when I was probably in my bed after I had night out. I remember when we were. I can't remember where we were when Brownie came out with that. What's that? The Borzak or what's it called? That little costume when he jumped into the pool. He came out. There was ructions over it.
Same with Chris Commons. Chris Commons dressed up in training session one day with a neck brace on and looked like he was busted up.
I know. Sure. I was with Puma at the time, and so was there's another Anthony Stokes cricketer, Stokes the cricketer. And they sent me all his stuff one day, and Brownie was dressed head to toe and all the cricket gear ready to go out to training. I think Gary Barker stopped him. I got it all sent in, and Puma like send that back to me. It was about 5 or 10 grand worth of gear, but Brownie was going to come out to training with it all on him.
But I'm gonna put you on the spot with this one. This lad here, did you ever hear of this lad before he even signed for Celtic? Because
I didn't, to be honest with you. But I tell you what happened with Hoops was it was a peculiar one because, listen, it's sometimes you can build up a bit of a rapport with a player over like months or, you know what I mean, halfway through a season. It takes a while normally. Myself and Hoopsy, after a couple of training sessions, we just clicked. I knew where he'd be. If I put the ball into the box, I didn't need to look up. I knew the right time to cut it back. I knew the right time to just zing it across the face of the goal. And he scored plenty of tap-ins off me.
Kind of like an history, wasn't he? Of Celtic, when you think about it, the amount of tap.
Great finisher. But he was, you know what? He was strong as well, Hoops. He had more physical strength than people gave him credit. And he was quick enough. He shifted when he wanted to. Sometimes it wasn't enough times in games, but when he wanted to, he could shift.
It was a strange transfer from Scunthorpe to Celtic, and we were like I remember, I'll be honest with you, I remember playing FIFA, and I was like, Hooper 88, is this a piss take or something? And then the guy came in, he makes it absolute. He was just a what a player.
he had great composure in front of goal, and then his other knack was he was like a poacher in the box. He always seemed to be in the right place. The ball, you don't get lucky when the ball just drops to you 7, 8, 9 times a season, and you're just in the right position.
It was shocking that he never got called up for England for that Euro 2012. To be honest with you, he was banging goals in for fun.
Banging them in for fun, but that's the problem sometimes with Scotland. It gets overlooked occasionally, and you got the crop that England have as well.
But they weren't at the time. I don't think they didn't have that much decent strikers back in 2012. I think the fall was around Marks around that time, but Rooney was around. I don't think Kane was around at the time, but no, Hooper was a different level. Like even you seen it, the Champions League. He pulled up the Champions League, but there's a game I want to talk about. I want to bring you back to memory lane. This is one of the most important games we've ever watched. The Celtic, the 3-3 game against Killie.
Well, you know what? Funnily enough, when I talk about that, that was when we done the Australian tour. When I was saying that about Lenny bringing us out that night, that we done the Australian tour that year, and I think that was coming up towards Christmas. Maybe we were 10 points, I think, behind Rangers, possibly more. But that tour, we didn't start the season well. We were a bit sluggish, and we were really fighting for our lives that day. But that Kilmarnock there, everything that could have went wrong that day before halftime. We could have been 4 or 5-0 down and completely out of sight. But I think that goes back to what I was saying to you. I think our mentality wasn't the changing room. And fair play to Lenny. Lenny wasn't behind the door about shouting and picking out players if you were wrong and made a mistake in the game. But when he came in after that at halftime, he didn't shout and scream. He just said, he goes, look, he said, you're letting yourselves down. He said, don't worry about me. He said, but you're letting yourselves, the club and the fans down here. He said, go out and do this. He said, for yourselves and the fans and for your own reputation. He said, take me out of it. And he was right there because I think he knew his job was on the line. And maybe, I don't know what that talk was about. Everybody, I know everyone in the dressing room expected him to shout and scream. But I remember Brownie pulling us before we went out. And I had a real feeling that we were going to do something special that second half because we knew the gaffer was under pressure, and really it was us letting him down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you look at that first half, even Charlie's goal, it's very unlike Charlie. Charlie's a nice, clean player, one of the best passers you'll ever see in your life. And he scuffs one back to the keeper, they score. It's just, we were sloppy, missed chances in front of goal. I missed a sitter as well. Just everything that could have went wrong. And it wasn't really Lenny's fault, but we dug in for him in that second half, and that was the turning point of the season. Because if we'd have lost that game, Lenny had probably have been gone. We'd have been in disarray a bit, but it gave us momentum, and it gave us a real belief. And 100%. I was delighted because I wanted Lenny there as long as possible. I really did.
Because we were literally time with them going up to that.
We were done.
Going to that New Year's game.
A draw gave us something to just mentally to keep us going. Do you know what I mean? That we showed a bit of belief, a bit of character, and I think we knew then Rangers knew we were going to scrap it out for the season. We weren't going to give up.
Could you remember that Jelic saying that we welcomed the chase and all that?
Yeah. Mind the gap
around that time.
Yeah, well, he wasn't saying that at the end of the season, was he?
And then we go back to that derby. Then we played them at Celtic Park, and Joe Ledley. Did Joe Ledley play centre back that night? Or was it left back he played? He scored the header.
When was that? Oh yeah, the header.
We ended going ahead in the league. It was around New Year's. It was New Year's.
Yeah. I tell you one thing. Bringing up Joe Ledley, he's a boy that slipped my mind. What an underrated player he was. Well, I felt.
I met him in Dublin Airport last year. I'll tell you the story. Walking through Dublin Airport, and there's this big circle of people.
Has he got the big beard and the sunglasses?
He had the big beard. He had the Spectre Gadget jacket on. He was whipping the Guinness back.
He's driving around. He's driving around in his 1970 Mini Cooper, I think. Still, he's got a little vintage Cooper.
Over here.
Himself and Adam Matthews, though, two of the best boys you could ever meet in football. Honestly, Joe was an absolute brilliant boy. Brilliant.
Some midfield then. Wanyama, Joe Ledley, Kayal, Scott Brown.
Kayal was the one that he really flopped at the start, and then he started doing all right for a while. But I don't know. I don't think he'd be taking him at Celtic now, anyway.
But Beaton's a decent player for Celtic as well.
Yeah, who's that?
Beaton.
Beaton was I know, but The less said about them at the minute, the better. Probably.
No problem.
Moving on from them.
So
before we start getting
Commons
political, they wouldn't get in the gates of Celtic Park now.
So Kris Commons, what a baller he was with you as well.
Commons. I remember Kris Commons. Was it his first game at Hampden? I could be wrong now. His first goal. He's about 20 minutes. He's about 20 minutes into his debut, and I'm thinking, has this fella just tried to cross the ball? He's dinked the keeper from 35 yards with a little zing. And I remember when he started hitting it, I was thinking, who's he playing that to? And I was like, I thought, fair play, mate, to have that the confidence he had as well in his own ability. I've never seen anyone strike a ball like he did in my life, ever. Leigh Griffiths could zing a ball. Charlie McGrew could zing a ball. But Commons, when he caught it, it was like a cannonball going by it.
He scored, I remember he scored in his debut, he scored in his derby debut, he scored in his home debut. He was just on fire, he was. And then that goal, he's got a tan. That goal has got a ton of guys to voice a kick.
He was a clever player as well. I always thought, see myself, him and Hoops, that was the best combination for me personally that we ever had. I remember scoring a goal against Dundee and I've played a ball to Commons, but it's a small little thing. We took out, I think, 6 defenders with literally a 1-2, but it's the weight of his pass back to me. It's right in my path. It's in front of me and I take a touch by 2 players. I've played it around. Took 2 of them out of it, but just his way to pass back to me. And I scored after the game. I said it to him. I was like, mate, people won't appreciate how good your pass to me there was, because it made my mind up. And actually, because of the weight of it and exactly on the right side of me, I could just glide by the two players. Yeah, he was unbelievable, him as well.
Very underrated, I think, when you look back, just as you said, the power he had, and then that game that you, Jamesy, and Commons and Samaras basically just won us that tie against Caligandi. That was a massive game.
Night, yeah. Listen, that was probably one of the highs as well, because we went over there and it was just a disaster. But I think that second leg, Jesus Christ, they had a bit of everything. We had the clearance off the line. Was it Lustig or Mostorovic just off the line? They clipped the crossbar. I hit the crossbar, but to score it the way we did, and yeah, it was a great finish from Jamesy. I done all right from that. It wasn't a bad assist that night.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad one. Oh, for you, absolutely for you. But Samaras, what was he like to deal with?
Sammy was a great big lad. You wouldn't want Sammy. Listen, Sammy done well in the big games, so I was a bit disappointed at times, because I could be playing really well in great form, and then he'd go and play Samaras up front on his own, or because he liked the target man. Lenny knew that, in the old firms, they were going to be condensed. There was going to be a lot of tackling. It was going to be physical. But you know what I used to find funny? Sammy would run his balls off. He'd be like, honestly, he was like Pele against Rangers in a couple of games. But for the rest of the season, you wouldn't see him turn up. Ask him to go to Patrick Thistle and put the defender on his back, on his ass, and he'd just float through the game. Lenny wouldn't even put him in some squads. But Rangers away or something, when the chips are down, listen, he pulled it out of the bag plenty of times. He was a great player, but I think he could have been so much more. It was just when he fancied it. And people say that about me, but I mean, he really did just play when he wanted to play.
Brilliant. He was even class for Greece. He was it just didn't really work out for him. When he left Celtic, he went to West Brom and stuff. But I want to talk about. I know you and Hooper were injured for the night we beat Barcelona. What was the vibe around the club before that? Obviously, it was the anniversary and stuff.
Listen, it was a great vibe. I was devastated. I got injured. I think that's the season I missed maybe 6 or 7 months of the season with an injury. Got injured against Inter Milan early on, so it was tough to watch. But no, it was unbelievable from the boys. Listen, that was a special night, and Tony, what of all people to get the winner, you know what I mean? It was a special occasion, but it's one definitely to be remembered.
Were you playing that day at Motherwell when Tony Watt came on to score them 2 goals? I know Hooper actually and the captain of the team.
I think that was all. Tony Watt sort of came on the scene because I got injured. I was in pre-season. We were playing Inter Milan, and I went in for a tackle. I ended up out for 7 months, and that's when Tony sort of really got his opportunity and scored a couple of goals, and the goal against Barca as well. But when I came back into the fold, he didn't really play as much.
Yeah. We sold quick enough. He went to Stade Liège or somewhere like that. He did in Belgium.
Listen, Tony wasn't the worst kid in the world. You know what I mean? But a bit of a chip on his shoulder, and he was lazy. And I remember one time in particular when I sort of knew Tony what time was up was Brownie had enough of him. We were doing laps. We used to do 4 minute runs. Lenny had us doing. They were quite hard, but Tony, listen, these young boys come in, done half decent in around the squad for pre-season, and he was getting lapped by all the first team players, even the lads that we could have taken it slightly easier. And Brownie
Yeah.
sort of had it for him, and he was sort of giving a bit of cheek back to Brownie, and underlinely, I don't know if he realised it or not, but he sort of signed his own death warrant with the club then, I think, because when the older pros and especially the skipper starts turning on you, it's a difficult road back.
Yeah. Do you remember this moment? Do you remember
I
this
can't
game?
remember
Does
that.
that?
I don't know. Was that Valentine's Day or something? I don't
It looks
that
like
was that
you
Hibs in the
Gladys
cup.
Cheney and Paddy Roberts. So
Was
that's
that
that's the cup final against Hibs.
cup final? Yeah, I think I got man of the match that day. I think
Two assists.
2 assists. Yeah, two decent assists. I actually remember them. One with my left foot for Hooper. Two to Hooper actually. I think two
Yeah,
crosses. Yeah.
two headers. Well,
And then I
one header
done
and then
well for
both
the
header
last goal. We scored late on. Joe Ledley scored a cracker. Cut back, he's put it into the top corner. Yeah, we played well that day. It was, I can't remember exactly, but was it 3-0 or 3-1 or something?
3-0. I remember that jersey was a belter. But you used to always fold it up the tricolour, didn't you?
Oh, you stop it. I kept about 10 of them, and then I kept all the ones with the famine memorial on it. They were difficult to get. We only had one of them. I was robbing them from reserve players and everything to bring back the lads.
What about the zip up? Did you have the zip up? The black one?
Yeah.
That's a belter.
But that was
I'm not buying it.
I always folded the sleeves up on that one. That was guaranteed.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I was at this game in Dublin. You captained us that day. That was one of the first matches ever on BT.
That was against Liverpool, was it?
Yeah, against Gerrard's team, yeah.
Yeah, against Gerrard. I remember Snap Coutinho, I think it was in midfield. Yeah, but we won that day. Big ball day got us a goal. I set him up.
Mito Balde, yeah. Some chip of a minute.
He didn't score many else, but he scored that day, I remember. But yeah, listen, that was a pre-season game, and do you know what? Pre-season games, it goes to show you how much they mean very little. They're good for fitness and to try and get a bit of sharpness, but overall, I honestly think that's all you get out of pre-season. Even looking at
What
Celtic,
pissed me off, right? I was at the game. I was in the Celtic game. There was like 10,000 Celtic fans in the Aviva, and the rest were all Liverpool. So we all started singing "You Never Walk Alone" I'd say about 80 minutes in. Liverpool fans wouldn't sing with us. I was like, no. And then the rest was history. Charlie and the boys that night in the Button Factory, and then the rest was just. But good times. Like honestly, then Griffiths came in on that January from Wolves on loan.
Yeah, Griffiths came in and done very, very well. Listen, Griffiths was some finisher, and he sort of came to the fore when Hooper, obviously, Hoops was away and Griff came in. We had a decent little partnership together. Griffiths was better, had a better all around game than I thought. He actually got very good in the air as well. Started scoring a few goals, but he was some finisher. He had honestly a wand of a left peg.
Yeah, even the free kicks and stuff. I remember his first goal for Celtic. I think you were playing that day at Tynecastle.
Yeah, possibly. I can't really remember that one. There's that many.
He shifted past two lads, turned it around, and then smashed it in.
Yeah,
and then he ran over the Hearts fans.
Yeah. I remember that. But what Griffiths was great, he was great at just getting a half a yard with very little backlift and just smashing it. But he had the direction and power. He was honestly, he was a bit like Reardon, like the special finisher. You'd have one in 5 or 6 squads you'd go to, you'd get a player that could finish like that, and Reardon and Griffiths was probably in that sort of category.
Remember the two free kicks he scored against England as well for Scotland?
Yeah. I remember the first one. Jesus Christ, it was a great finish, but yeah, Griffiths done very, very well for himself. Just unfortunate the way things ended at the end.
Look, I was going to say, so talk to me about the story with the hair transplant. Like this one.
I don't know where that came up out of. I was getting it done, and then he came on board, and that was it. It was a duo, so he flew to Turkey with me.
And you were saying in the interview, his missus came with him and all.
Oh, stop. I don't know what he did. I went myself.
Look, it's the trend now. It's the trend now. Right, I'm gonna move on. Let's see what else do I have for you before you go.
I have to wrap this
Hibs.
up soon enough. I have to get my dinner on soon, lad.
Yeah. Stokesy. You obviously went to Hibs. You were with McGeoch and Henderson as well.
Yeah. Hendo came in. Hendo was brilliant, but Stubbs, honestly, what a gentleman he was. Great manager. Very easy going on in training. Got his point across, but really enjoyed working with him. But that was a great squad we had there. Dylan McGee up there, Hendo there. Really, Jason Cummins was there. John McGinn. John McGinn was outstanding that last spell I was there. But
It pissed me off that we never got him. Like,
I know. You know what? And he really made the step up. I always kind of thought to myself though, is McGinn better in a team where they're under a bit of pressure? But when he went to Villa and the football they were playing, it was free flowing going forward, and he done really well.
got them
I wasn't
promoted as
sure
well.
at Celtic maybe with all the possession we had would it, but I think he showed going to Villa. Yeah, we definitely missed out on him.
What's your
100%.
opinion? You think Celtic should go for Lennon Miller?
What's that?
Lennon Miller.
Yeah, well, listen, I see with any player, and this is like even with McGinn. See, Celtic's the type of club that it's a different sort of pressure to other clubs. Like it really is. You can see players. I remember, for instance, I was only thinking this earlier on before we actually done this, we were talking about new signings and that. I honestly think, see new signings at a club, you cannot judge them because every club is different and every bit of pressure. Like the pressure at Celtic is pressure outside the club as well from fans that players don't understand. If you're a foreign lad coming in, you're going to get stick outside and you just have to take it. It's like me. I'd be pissed off if we lost the game and seeing someone out celebrating or having dinner with their families. But some of the foreign lads find it hard to take. I think a lot of the British and Irish lads can take the pressure of playing at a club like Celtic a lot easier. And for instance, see even when you talk about judging players in pre-season, you can't. We had take Mark Rosas, for instance, came from Barcelona. See him Monday to Friday in training. He was unreal. On the ball, distribution, ridiculous. More ability than probably Brownie, a better passer. You know what I mean? Brownie got around and was much more of a leader. But anytime I seen him in a game, he folded. And I don't mind, I don't like to say anything bad about a player, but some players you just see that can do it and consistency as well. It's being consistent. To go to Celtic and to be successful, you need to be consistent. You need to hit the ground running. And you have to be able to take pressure because the problem is with Celtic is that if you're not performing, they'll just sign someone else. They'll shift you out. Every transfer window will be a couple of players in and out. And that's normally the case. So,
and what, like, be honest with you, I know like he's an Irish striker and all that, but what do you think is going to happen at Adamida? Do you think he will come to that stage where we will get 25 to 30 goals up more? Is it just a case that the pressure is getting to him?
I don't know. Listen, with strikers, it's all about confidence. You know what I mean? That's what it's really all about. And I think it's very difficult to say. I just know that when I didn't succeed at clubs was genuinely when I was playing under a manager that I felt didn't have faith in me, and I started getting pressure, or if I felt going into the games that there was pressure from the fans, or that your position was, you know what I mean, up for grabs. If you're going in and only getting opportunities here and there, but look, I think the goals are there for him, and it's just a case of just a little bit of confidence. He should be hitting fucking 25 a season. Let's be honest.
That's what I think as well, and I'm not trying to think of the price tag, to be honest with you, because it's only
but any striker at Celtic, like, let's be honest, if you're not hitting 20 goals a season, you're not having a successful season. You're not doing the job.
And what do you think about Johnny Kenny? He's done well so far.
Yeah, listen, I've seen the other boys as well. Listen, I think Celtic have a great basis, but you know what I find at Celtic, and I think it's the only club that it's like this with ourselves and Rangers. Every season is different. Celtic will be dominating one season, and the next season you're going in. Rangers might have only taken in 2 or 3 players, but it's all about how the season starts and momentum, and it's a confidence thing as well. If you lose a couple of games early on, it's difficult to recover from. That's sort of what happened to us when we didn't start well that season, when we went really behind. When I think we're the Kilmarnock season when we were really just chasing hard to grind out results, and there was no reason for that because we had a great bunch of players, you know what I mean? But sometimes it's better off to keep the squad and make only maybe 3 or 4 changes. Because even with Lenny, it took a season or so because he basically turned the whole squad around.
He's won the Scottish Cup in his 4th season, and then he's won the league the following season.
Yeah, I think, did we lose the season by a point in the 4th season, was it? Or
by a point, because he's actually hammered Motherwell, and then they won against Kilmarnock.
But I do think, look, at the end of the day, it just comes down to, I think, starting the season well is so vital. Getting a good pre-season under your belt, but pre-season is, I don't read anything into that. Beating Newcastle or getting great results like that, the first game of the season is I take it from there, and that's the real starting point. So I
just bonding the new players together, and that's what it's all about, fitness and bonding the new lads together.
Yeah, getting a bit of sharpness, but there's no sharpness like a competitive game. And see these pre-season friendly when the weather's good. When it gets to October, November, and Patrick Thistle away on a Wednesday night, that's when you see the real character and where you can really start judging people, because it's easy to play when the sun's out and it's the early, but coming up to Christmas, January, February, when it's like hitting the real knuckle end of the season, that's when you need to see character in the squad as well, and that's where you need a balance between having the likes of your Brownies and just good characters in the team and leaders.
Well, Tierney's a big one to get back. Like you were still playing for you were still at Celtic at the time when Tierney made his debut in Dens Park.
Yeah, Tierney was nearly pushing Izagari out, and Izagari was phenomenal when he was there.
He was tipped in his 4th season. He was tipped for a move to United at one point.
Yeah, it's so much going from. I don't know how that all sort of fizzled out with him, but I love playing with him.
I think it was to be honest with you, I think it was the leg break. Remember, you got the leg break against Aberdeen, and then he came back against.
But Tierney was only a young boy, like when he first started coming through, and I thought he was rough and ready. But see, and this is the thing with like young players, it's very difficult to see. They either go one way or the other. You push them up to the first team, and they puff their chest out, and they actually excel, or else they completely fold. Tierney, you could see straight away. He actually looked better in games than he was in training with us amongst ourselves, and I thought he really stepped up. He deserved everything he got. He got his move, and he's back home now, isn't he? So I think he'll be a massive boost to the squad in a lot of ways, of leadership as well and experience.
Let's be honest, if he never moved to Arsenal, he would have been the captain ahead of McGregor.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. But look, he went down there and he deserved the move. He got it on merit, especially with his performances with Scotland as well. But he was unbelievable for Celtic, so it's great to have him.
Just keep him fit and he'll be unbelievable.
A great, lovely, level-headed, like just a genuinely really nice lad. But when he's on the pitch, fierce and ferocious, and doesn't pull out of a tackle either. He's a great signing for Celtic.
Just a quick question: what was like Callum McGregor like to train with? I know he obviously went to Notts County.
Yeah, he was out on loan quite a bit at the start. Cal didn't really play that much when I was there. He sort of came into his own after I left. But yeah, look, you could see the quality he had. He went down to was it Notts County? He went to
Him and Grealish were Notts County.
He had a great spell, but when he went to Notts County, he was banging in goals left, right, and centre.
14 goals.
Yeah, 14 goals, and I think that's I don't think anyone had really seen that side of him. You know what I mean? But he came back, and it definitely obviously boosted his confidence. And
do you remember his goal against Leigh Warsaw away, like 40 yards out?
Yeah. But listen, he's been a great leader and a great player. And this is what I mean. I think the boys that really succeed at the top level, the consistency is the real thing. You know what I mean? It's not a good season or a good 6 months here and there over a 3-year period. It's 2 out of 3 games. They'll give you, you know what I mean, 7 or 8 out of 10 performances, and you know that's the real key to, I think, being successful at Celtic, is being consistent and being able to handle the pressure.
Just a quick one for you. I didn't ask you about this lad. How is he like the good manager?
There's not much to say. Listen, you know what? On a personal level, he wasn't a bad lad, but see, after he was very, very different to Lenny, a different philosophy, different mindset, different way of setting up. So we played one up front plenty of times. I remember one of my biggest issues was with him. We set up for the whole of pre-season after Lenny left. One up front, one up front. We were playing like that. We played like that against
How did
Patrick
that
Thistle at
work
home.
with you, Griffiths, and John G'day? Like,
Exactly. And it's not like we're exactly the three of us were either of the three of us were great in the air or big physical lads, but I preferred Lenny's philosophy. You know what I mean? Lenny would tell you, look, I can't tell you how to control the ball. He said, I'll set you up and give you a rough formation, and he'd go into detail about certain specifics of what he wanted in the game. But on the whole, he'd give you freedom. And then if we conceded a goal, he'd go, well, look, we'll go up and do a score too. This whole thing with Deal playing one up front against Patrick Thistle. I remember coming off in the game at home, and we just scraped a 1-0 result, a 1-0 win against Patrick Thistle, and he was going on about stats, about cutbacks, about how many opportunities we had. And I was
people
thinking,
don't care in Glasgow. Once you get the result, and that's it.
exactly. Go out and just pump them 4 or 5-0 and get 2 strikers up front and play the way Celtic are meant to play, attacking, enjoying football for the fan. You know what I mean? But look, he didn't last too long there. But yeah, I wouldn't have much to say, to be honest.
So you have 5 league titles, 3 Scottish Cups, and a League Cup. And what was your favourite game in the Celtic shirt before we finish up?
My favourite game, I'd say, and there's 2 of them. Killy away. I think it was my second
When we
game.
hammered them, Killy, when we hammered Killy for the title, or was it
No.
game?
When I scored my first goal, Paddy McCourt got injured after about a half an hour. I'd started the previous game, done all right, set up Maloney.
The green jersey, the lime green one.
Yeah. But just to get my first goal, it was a winner. It was away to Patrick Thistle. The away fans were there. Celtic away fans are special, honestly. Listen, some of the home games are great, but yeah, I don't know. Just that feeling going back on the bus. I remember just bringing my friends and family and getting messages and just to score my first goal and for it to be in. Well, it was a tap in. I made a great run. Izagari, I think, fizzed it across the box, but I remember going back on that bus as happy as anyone in the world. Listen, I just scored a winner from a childhood club in my second game going, and it was a good start for me. It really gave me confidence, and that's a goal that I'll never really forget.
Altogether, 77 goals and 64 assists as well. That just shows that you did have that bond there with Hooper and with Griff as well.
Yeah, listen, I think I made my contribution over the years. Even Carragandi that night, you know, at certain stages, and overall, I think I was consistent enough. When I wasn't injured and wasn't out of the squad, I was scoring on average about 20 a season. So. All competitions.
To be honest with you, what happened with the Ireland setup with Trapattoni? Like, is it just a case that you always wanted?
I never got a look in. Like, for example, and this is one way I sum it up that I can't really understand how I haven't got more Irish cap. Daryl Murphy was very, very good at Sunderland. Deserved to play ahead of me every week. 1,000,000%. He was in better form for 2 years, whatever. When we went to Celtic in that particular season, I only ended up with 8 or 9 caps. But I scored 22, 23 goals. During that season, Murph, I think, scored 2 goals. And I think he got maybe 6 or 7 caps that year. I didn't get 1. And I was playing in Europe. I was playing week in, week out. I scored a couple of hat-tricks. I was scoring and playing regularly, and he wasn't. But Trapattoni liked to play alongside Robbie. If it wasn't a Doyle or a Long, the likes of Murphy to come on, physical, strong.
Yeah.
But I think it should go on form as well. And it didn't. He just didn't like something about me, or I think I was a bit flamboyant, or it just didn't suit the style that he wanted to play. I think that's honestly what it was. It was a big one. It was Robbie and someone else, and I didn't fit the form for whoever else was next. So it was what it was. And listen, Robbie Keane is the best Irish striker in history, but I felt I could have got a couple of more opportunities in caps.
You gonna watch that film that's coming out about Saipan?
What's that? Oh, I'll give that a watch. Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming out in the next couple of weeks about Mick and obviously Roy.
Yeah, I'll be a bit of crack that. I've heard some of the stories from inside, so be interesting to see what comes out.
Just a final one. So predictions for this season, obviously win the league, but how many points you think?
Listen, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The thing is, get across the line, because, like I said, anything can happen, and when every season is different. But momentum's, I just think it'd be good to get a good start to the season, start strongly, get momentum going, and it doesn't really matter. But see, the League Cups, and it's nice to do the doubles and the trebles, and they're brilliant. But the main focus is always just win the league first and be as dominant as you can, because that'll carry into the next year. But just I'm not bothered about points or making predictions. Once we win the league, I'll be happy and celebrating at the end of the year.
Hopefully we can get Brendan Rodgers' contract sorted as well, just after the Champions League qualifiers as well. That's just taking forever. 1 year left in his deal as well.
Yeah, well, need to get a few more players in as well. It'd be nice. A strong squad's very important. You know what I mean? As well, I think that's.
I read an article today. I read an article today, and to be honest with you, I think it's a bold call, but I don't think he's done enough to deserve the job in the future if he's even considered. If Rodgers was leaving, Pat Nevin suggested Damien Duff for the next Celtic manager. Look, at Duff has been around the club with Lenny and stuff like that.
Done a great job with Shells.
Shouts.
A lot of people would, but has he got the experience? Who knows? Maybe down the line.
Maybe Hibs down the line from if Gray leaves.
Yeah, well, Devlin got in there as well. So, yeah, listen, he's done very, very well, and I know from speaking to an agent, a good friend of mine who's an agent and has a few boys to play with him. The boys all love him and like really bought into his character and how he was with them, and would have went into the trenches for him. So he seems to be a good man manager as well, and help us everything else. The success he had at Chelsea.
Right, Stokesy, I'll let you go. It was a pleasure speaking to you.
No problem at all, Paul. I enjoyed it.
Wish you the best. Some cracking stories. We didn't even get to talk about the Derry Pele, Paddy McCourt. What a guy!
Geez, Paddy McCourt. We'd be here all night. A legend of a lad and a legend of a footballer. Every one of his goals is a highlight reel. Put it that way, and that's enough said about Paddy.
Like his final game for Celtic was actually that cup final, wasn't it? The 3-0 one.
Paddy was a joke. Couldn't run off the ball, but give him the ball and he'd take it by 5 players and score.
What a guy! He ripped it up in the League of Ireland as well, didn't he, for Derry and for Rovers as well.
Great lad as well. I loved him to bits. He was a brilliant boy. Some crack. Quiet lad, but he honestly, he'd have you in stitches.
I want to start saying Paddy McCourt being army on this. But it was good speaking to you, Stokesy, and I wish you the best, right? Pleasure, pal. Nice to speak to you, right? Cheers, man. Thanks. So, folks, that is Stokesy. Stokes. It was a nice speaking to him tonight. Something different. I told you I'll get him on. He's been a busy man. I've been a busy man, and I hope he's enjoyed that podcast as well. So, yeah. It's good to see good podcast as well off the underside. They done a phenomenal interview with Anthony Joseph the other day. I have to say, really good insight interview talking about obviously Anthony Joseph, the logistics of transfers and how they get the stories through their sources, and the abuse that these journalists get as well online abuse is just absolutely outrageous. But it was good having Stokes on. Some really good stories, obviously. Hits memory lane for him, talking about winning the Scottish Cups, seeing Celtic beat Barcelona, getting that move to Celtic, being a childhood Celtic fan. Really, really enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it as well. Obviously, I could have went all night chatting to him, but he wanted to have his dinner, and to take time out to do it just shows that, there's sound people out there. There's sound people out there. Regardless if you play as a professional or just a fan, we'll all talk about Celtic. That's the most important thing. You should get Lenny on if you can. I don't know about Neil Lennon. I'm gonna try get on Adam Matthews. I was just thinking about that today. I'm gonna try reach out to a couple of sources and ask Adam Matthews to come on. I know it's not Neil Lennon style, but look, Lenny's a busy man. He's a manager at Dunfermline. He does a bit of punditry as well. It's gonna be hard to get Lenny in, to be honest. So I'm not even approaching Neil Lennon right now. Maybe this time next year we'll have a chat with the man himself. What a guy. Big fan of Neil Lennon. And I was gonna say to Stokes about what was your persona on the whole time when obviously we lost the league. Do you think it was very harsh the way fans were on Lennon? The way people took it out on Lennon? I was gonna ask about that, but it seems like he was a good manager, and he was a proper in there. Like that story when he said he had them set up for a casino and all because the boxing was on when they were in Australia. Brilliant. Yeah, this is me Mrs. Shorts. This is me Mrs. Shorts. So she's like, you know what, you should wear it. bringing back down memory lane. So it's a bit tight, but why not? Why not? Gives me a reason to lose the push. So I probably won't be on live watch along on. Is the game on Thursday? Is the combo game on Thursday or is it on Wednesday? If it's on Wednesday, I'll probably have to do a watch along for the game. It just depends, to be honest with you. I have the kids over this week, so trying to get a bit of time and space in it. It's a nightmare at times. But let me see. Let's hope we get to the final and we play Nicholas Kiln. Play against Nicholas Kiln. What a game the weekend against Newcastle on what? So what's this? This is 2 days away. Yeah, it's on Wednesday. It's on Wednesday. I'll try again on Wednesday and do a watch along for it. That'd be pretty decent. But the boys are saying 2 days. 2 days and 20. Oh, I'm getting confused. Today's Monday. So why is Celtic Park saying Wednesday? This is what happened the other day. He said Sporting Lisbon 7:30, then some places were saying half 6. Ajax on Thursday. It's Thursday. Well, someone get on to Celtic Football Club and tell them that they have the wrong dates in and the wrong time. It's because it's an absolute joke on that website. But we're looking at this Serbian defensive midfielder. Hopefully, we can get him over the line. Preferably, I'd like to see us spend more on a defensive midfielder, more established defensive midfielder. But as Stokes said about Adamida, he should be hitting 25 to 30 goals a season. He should be hitting it. And it's all about having in the head. It's all about the mentality. And look, he knows the pressures of playing for Celtic, being an Irish lad and big fee transfer. You know, he's been here for 18 months. You know, obviously, he came back on the permanent. We need to get him hitting the goals. You know, we really do. Same, like, look at Johnny Kenny. Johnny Kenny is busting his ass off when he's coming off the bench or, you know, starting. He's trying. I know it's only pre-season and people are saying, Keith, calm down. It's all about legs and it's all about players adapting and stuff like that, new players. But you're a fan. You want to see, like, especially players that have been established there, meant to be established there for 18 months. You want to see them hitting, you know. Just been reading around that we are pissing around with Royal Antwerp. It's all about money, innit? It's all about money with Michel Ange Balikwisha. He wants to come to Celtic at the end of the day. He wants to come. He has 1 year left in his deal. Let's fix this here. The green screen's a bit terrible, but people say he's injury prone, but he's actually had a decent. He came back in January and played 17 games he played, and he had like 8 goals and assist contributions in that space as well. Kenny has been good, but it's early. It's very early. Look, it's very early with Callum Osmond. It's early with, we haven't even seen Shin Amada play yet in the Celtic shirt as well. So I think one of these players will end up going. I think you could send Yamada on loan to give him that development in Scottish football, even half a season alone. I'd send him alone to see the likes of St. Mirren or someone like that. But we need to keep Maeda. Like Brentford, I've said it earlier on my channel. Look at Brentford, very club that's ran quite well. You know, they had a great spell with Thomas Frank. He got them. I think he got them from was a League One or the Championship straight up to the Premiership. Ivan Toney and all them guys. But Keith Matthews now is the manager or the head coach there, and they're pushing to get Maeda in. But Celtic should not be entertaining any offers for Days and Maeda. I'm telling you right now, and I know I sound very premature when I say this. If we lose Days and Maeda, we're going to struggle to win the league this season. I'm telling you right now, we will struggle to win the league this season. Days and Maeda is a massive part of our goals. He's got 30 goals. So if you lose Maeda, you have to lose in Kiln. That alone, that's 50 goals you're losing. So we cannot afford to lose Days and Maeda. That's the most important thing. Just 2 seconds now. Well, I hope he's enjoyed that. I hope he's enjoyed that podcast night. 29 tuning in, 24 over on YouTube, a few over on Facebook. And look, it's good to see us all in. And I hope he's enjoyed the Geordies are still crying. Oh man. They're going on like prats. They're going on like absolute prats. I know they're saying, oh, it's only a pre-season, but if they didn't bring that much fans with them up to Celtic Park, over 10,000 fans, I think they would have been all right with it. But because they bring so many fans up, they're all having meltdowns. 3 hours to another country. But look, it is what it is, and we played outstanding. Kenny played well, Yang played well, Trusty played really good. It's good to see Scales with a header. Good to see Arnie Ingles scoring. And I've seen a couple of videos from podcasts that are literally writing Arnie Ingles off. Like, let's give Arnie Ingles another season. I think some fans are putting Arnie Ingles in that like for like replacement of Matt O'Reilly. He's not a Matt O'Reilly player. You know, he's a different type of player, and I think Ingles needs to settle. You got to think about Ingles didn't come in until around transfer deadline day, so he has this summer to build on, play against decent opposition as well, as he's seen. So he will get there. He won the penalty, of course, and he converted the penalty as well. But I think people writing Arnie Ingles off is a bit bizarre. I think he will come to a game. I think he will. I don't think he would be a player that's going to get like 18, 19 goals a season. I think he'd probably be pushing 15 in all goals. But contributions, like assists, he might do well. Kenny especially, then Murray, then McPherson and Donovan, maybe Summers next season embedded. As Stokesy said in the podcast, some of these guys come in, these younger lads come into the team, put their chest out and expect that they're because they're around the fringes of the squad, that they've hit the big time. It's about consistency. It's about getting that run in. And I think Dane Murray, guy that I kind of doubt Dane Murray over the last couple of years. He's been on loan, Queen's Park and other clubs, and Brendan speaks highly of Dane Murray, and I thought he was outstanding against Lisbon. I thought he was really well against Lisbon and Sporting. He was very composed. I think Dane Murray, I'd rather Dane Murray, even with a fit Welch, I would rather Dane Murray in there. I think he has a point to prove in the Celtic shorts. He's been around the senior team for the last 4 years. When Ange played him against Midtjylland and stuff like that, and Yarbelik in the Europa League. So hopefully we'll see more of Dane Murray. Donovan, I thought he's been played well. Obviously, he got the header as well. McPherson, not a bad little baller. I'm on the bench with about Ben Summers. I think people see a bit of energy with Ben Summers, but I'd rather. No, I don't know. I'm a bit iffy about Ben Summers, to be honest. I hope he will get into the squad, but I just think there's so much competition. You may not see as a fan that we don't have them players in the disposal at the moment. Within the team, there is competition. Now we've seen Tilio and Palmer. Tilio will be confirmed over the next 24 hours. Florian Petterberg of Sky Sports of Germany reported yesterday it's a done deal. Rapid Vienna, 400k loan fee with 1.5 million option to buy if he plays 20 games in there. Look, Marco Tilio, I hope it works out for him. Just I think Celtic's too big of a club, and just don't think he's at that level. And I would like to see him obviously do well for the Socceroos in the next World Cup, but we'll see what happens there. And we will qualify even if Maeda is going to be sold. It'll be after the qualifiers. We won't sell him. I honestly don't think we're going to sell him. And the reasons why I tell him we won't sell him, the reason why I'll tell you why we won't sell him, because his family are happy in Glasgow. We have European football to give him. Rodgers is a big fan of him. And yeah, he could go to Brentford and he could still get in the Japanese team, all means. I just think Celtic are a bigger club. Yes, the Premier League is a phenomenal option to have on your CV, and you could go there and play against Man United's and Chelsea's and Liverpool's and Arsenal's every week, better stature football. Let's be honest. Is it enjoyable watching the Premier League? Fuck no, it's not. It's tippy tappy Pep Guardiola football now. Pep Guardiola, as he is a phenomenal manager, but his style of football, his ethos of football, so many teams have adapted it. It has ruined the Premier League. It's ruined the Premier League. The only thing that's keeping the Premier League going out straight, which is the pundits and Sky Sports. Let's be honest. You got your Roy Keane, your Neville's, your Carragher's. They're the only ones that keep it going. Gary Lineker going off match of the day. That will ruin BBC's coverage of the Premier League. You know, so I just can't stand watching it. Like, there's no. I'm not going to hide away from. I used to be a big Liverpool fan when I was a kid, and I became a full-time Celtic fan. I can't not sit there. Nothing appeals to me. Like, if I was back in Dublin, my mate said to me, "Let's go out for Man United and Liverpool, 6:30 on not 6:30, 12 on a Saturday." With Celtic are playing 12 on a Saturday away to Dundee. I'm fucking sitting in the corner and I'm watching Celtic and Dundee. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit about Man United and Liverpool? You watch Man United and Liverpool, there's a free kick being taken, there's a corner being taken, and what are the fans doing? They're all sitting there on their fucking phones, recording them. Embrace it. It's like when Oasis are at the being playing. Why does everyone have to sit there and record a concert? Fucking take it in. Take it in. That's what it's all about. It's all about. Think there'll be a move for James Ward-Prowse. Need a good free kick. What a guy. What a guy. You know what? I actually like James Ward-Prowse. Done really well at Southampton. He built Southampton to get to that Premier League. That's what a captain he was for them. Done all right at West Ham. Was he on loan somewhere recently? James Ward-Prowse. Was it Ipswich or somewhere like that? James Ward-Prowse. What age is he? Played 15 games last season. Did he go back to Southampton? Did he? Was he back at Southampton? What a guy. What an absolute guy. 400 Premier League appearances. What age is he? He's 20 years of age. Fucking get on a car bonnet. I would gladly take him. I'd pay 5 million for James Ward-Prowse. Easily do a job at Celtic. I think he's a good baller, you know. I've been the same interest in the Premier League. I do, you know. I just honestly, and look at the Premier League 10 years ago was enjoyable to watch. English Premier League. Now I wouldn't give an absolute rat's toss. Honestly, I'd rather sit there and watch Serie A or the Bundesliga. Like, it just means more to the fans. Look at Man City. Man City are expanding their stadium. For what? They can never fill their stadium out for the Champions League night, for God's sake. Like, just a different level. But anyways, folks, I'm going to leave it there. Good chat with you. It's over an hour 15. Massive thanks to Anthony Stokes for popping on. Good chat with him. And please do subscribe. I'm in the works of chatting away to another YouTube channel and getting me on, having a chat with them for this coming season. And we'll see what we can do. But thank you very much for everyone that watched. And we'll speak to you all soon. I'll try to get back on Thursday night for the Ajax game.